would say that he made the right choice because of the love and the passion that the fans have for Alabama football.
Yeah, 100%. And that gets going to kind of lead me into, I know we want to talk a little bit about the movie. And when I think of two of the kind of instrumental father son duos that played at the university, it's two of the people that kind of collabed for this movie. It's, you and Marlon, and then Simeon, Tim, and Jeremiah. Obviously Caleb as well. I think of Simeon and Tim. Obviously, they played a little bit more than Jeremiah. Jeremiah going more of the film route later on in his career. But y'all kind of come together to make this movie. What was kind of the driving factor to think that, this was something that obviously we've seen we'll talk more about the dates, but, what was the driving factor behind thinking this movie needed to get made?
Well, I really don't know the answer to that because I don't know what fell into the mindset of Marlon and my daughter. But I think what initiated the drive was the fact that there needs to be a story told, and I don't think very many people around the world understand what that story would be like and unfold. You think about two different eras, and the film implicates that. And my daughter, Brianna, who's out in Hollywood, and Caleb, who is out in Hollywood, who kind of dropped it in her lap, and then they mentioned it to Marlon, and it was like, oh wow, the story of Alabama, man, that should be really good. Tradition, winning, culture, pride, all the things that the Alabama program is built on was something that really triggered it. And as they started to put it together, and it just came together like a masterpiece. And going to the premiere and seeing it for the first time, I was just unbelievable because, you know, Coach Bryant did something in a whole different era, and Coach Saban did it in a whole different era. Coach Bryant was dealing with, he came here to Alabama, and it was in the middle, in the heat of the civil rights movement, and he wanted to bring in black players, and there was some resistance there, and all that is depleted. I mean, it's shown in the movie and everything. And then Coach Saban comes and just picks it up. You had in the championship. We don't want to leave out Stallings. He's in the movies there. He picked up one there in the middle, and then Coach Saban kind of picked it up on the tail end, and kind of picked up where Coach Bryant left off in terms with consecutive, multiple, I shouldn't say consecutive, but multiple national championships, and just kept the tradition, pride. You think about Coach Bryant implemented the process and knew the process that he wanted, the players to live by. And Saban came in and just labeled it as the process, and if you watch the film, both of them saying some of the similar things in their speech. It's kind of crazy, man. It's almost like they were designed and made and had created the right cultures to be winners. Coach Bryant talked about doing the little things. Well, guess what Coach Saban talked about? Doing the little things. and knowing how you get the best out of this day. Coach Saban said the same thing. You want to be better and get a little bit better every day. So and don't let me get Coach Stallings. He preached the same thing. He was one of Coach Bryant's disciples. So, it all came together. It was a really, really good concept, and them putting it all together, and the way they kind of mixed and matched it and brought the old and the young and everybody in between together and overlapped. It was just a great movie. It's a great film to see. So I encourage everybody to go out and see it on the 31st of July.
Yeah, and something you're talking about, right? When you're talking about the process, when you're talking about the things that breed success, right? Like that's a lot of what this movie's about, right? Like that's the whole nothing but a winner mentality. But it's also something that I think goes beyond sports, right? It goes into life. It goes into everything that you think about is, right? At the end of the day, what allows you to be successful is these pillars of things that you can take off the football field. Because when you look at the people that have had success, you know, if you're going to have success, it doesn't matter if it's on the football field. It doesn't matter if it's here. It doesn't matter if it's there, right? It matters that you implement, if you get better every day. That doesn't have to be on the football field. Obviously, they're using it for the football field. Do your job the best you can do it. Yeah, that definitely applies if you're a cornerback, but sure, that also applies if you're an accountant, or that applies if you're, anybody in life. So I think that's what you have to kind of take away when you're looking at some of these things is, as much as this is a film about sports, yes, it absolutely is. It's about the success of a football program. It's also about how two men were able to lead other men into being successful in life.
Absolutely. That you put it in a nutshell, because Coach Saban and Coach Brown, they push academics. They didn't make any excuses about it. They didn't allow any players to get away with missing class. When I was there, study hall, I remember Coach Perkins, when I was there, it was mandatory that you go to breakfast. You used to have to sign in at breakfast. And if you didn't sign in, that sign-in sheet went to Coach Perkins' desk every morning. And if you didn't sign in for breakfast, you were in a lot of trouble. You was probably gonna get punished worse than maybe missing a rep in weight training or in sprints or out on the football field. If you didn't sign, and Coach Perkins told us that I found out through not directly from Coach Perkins, but somebody who worked with him told us why he wanted us to go to breakfast. He said, if you get up out of the bed to go to breakfast, then that means you're more likely to go to class. So if you got up in the morning and you had to walk down them steps, because the dining hall was on the first floor, so we had to walk down those steps. More than likely, once you got up, the chances are you going to class are probably close to 100% than it is if you didn't get up. So that was his theory behind it, of us going to breakfast. And although that was a little thing, it was small, we didn't understand it. But as you got older, you figured out, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Because who wants to get up? Once you get up, it's hard to go back to sleep. So rather than bending them up, I might as well go to class. So, and those were things that all of those coaches in the standard, it just, just kept building on, coach after coach. And Coach Saban, when he got there, he just kept it going. And I'm hoping Caleb DeBoer just keep the train, going down the track.
And when you were talking about going to class, I remember, I was talking about some of those classes I had with players. Like I had a couple of classes where all of a sudden, right at the beginning of class would be going 2 or 3 minutes. And all of a sudden you would see somebody peek their head in. They would like notice a few people and then they would leave. And he had people that would go check every room to make sure his players were in class on time. Like, if you were just late, like he better know why you were late. Like I want to say it was like Jalen or somebody had a meeting with Saban that caused him to be like 2 or 3 minutes late to class. And we were like, where's he at? And then he got there and he was like, hey guys, I had to meet with Saban. He knows why I was late. It's okay. And it was this whole, because the teacher was trying to look out for him. Like, hey, we know he's coming to class. And then when he walked in late, he had a meeting with Saban. And so that's why he was late. So it was a very valid reason to have been 2 or 3. I mean, he was a couple of minutes late. It's not like he missed class. And the room checkers were freaking out. It was just very funny kind of ordeal. But exactly what you're saying, right? Like they knew that at the end of the day, football is where some of these people are going to have success. And Saban sent a lot of people to the NFL and they had success. But as many of those people that had success in the NFL, a larger percentage of them were going to go on to life and do other things that were not football. Mm-hmm. And in order to be successful, those things that he was preaching on the football field, they could apply to their everyday life. And that was going to make them successful, teachers of young people is how he used to always call it, him and Miss Terry.
That's right. And they did a great job of doing it and knowing that football and time schedule put structure in place, put discipline in place. And, and that Saban said, be where your feet are, you be where you're supposed to be, you do what you're supposed to do, and you do the little things. And Coach Bryant just says show up and get a little bit better, just a little bit better, little bit better than he did yesterday, a little bit better than he did, last week. Just get a little bit better every day. So just those little things. Progression doesn't have to be a big giant step. Progression can be just taking a little bit of an inch and moving forward. As long as you kind of move forward, and both those guys push those things.
Yeah, and I think that when you also have to, when you look at Nick Saban and you see the success, it's also when you see his coaching tree and the people that tried to implement the same things he was doing, right? Like there's a reason why they were doing that, right? There's a reason why Kirby's program is built very similarly to how Saban had his built. It's because I think people realize that to be successful, right, it wasn't a surprise that Coach Brian and Coach Saban had similar philosophies, because that was the philosophy it took to be successful at the highest level, right? If you want to just win a couple of games, you may be able to do that however you want. But if you want to achieve the most, then you have to, A, have good players, but B, have a foundation in place that allows those players to be successful long term.
And I think the players bought into it. The players bought into what Coach Bryant was trying to do, and the players bought into what Coach Saban was trying to do. And I can remember Coach Bryant said, and he spread it out. I think it may have been his first or second year at Alabama. He said, in 4 years you'll be national champions. And he don't expect anything less. Because there's a process by which you kind of build and you go work a progression. And Saban used to call it the process. Marlon being a five-star DB, he got to Alabama and he redshirted. And he trusts the process. He wasn't ready, and he go back and look at it now and saying redshirted probably was one of the better things that happened to him, because he trusts that the process was, taking those one step and not trying to take a giant step to where you have to go back and then fill in for the things that you missed or you didn't understand. And now it's very difficult to regain confidence, after you've already been toasted and burnt a few times in the secondary, or you don't have your feet right, or you don't know the coverage and you bust a play or something like that. So, Saban believed in that process, the players believed in it, and I think those are the things that those coaches do in terms of being more disciplined, with self-determination, being more patient, with eagerness to be able to trust the process. And then after that, you started building. Because, Saban, what happened in Saban's first year. And his second year, I don't think he won the national championship to his, third year, his 1st one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it took him a little time. It took him a little time to build a foundation, get the beliefs. You kind of got to weave through the crowd. You kind of have to add, subtract. You kind of have to build your guys. You had to let some guys go, and then once you build that core base and that foundation, then you can kind of start moving and building into the direction of having multiple national championships and success. And I think that's what he did with those players that believed in him.
Yeah. So as we're getting here near the end, I wanted to ask if there was one thing that people take away, and for anybody that has not seen it, the movie that we are talking about, Nothing But a Winner, it premieres on July the 31st. Because of the popularity, it actually looks like it might be coming out a couple of days. So links for tickets to that movie are going to be down in the show notes. Additionally, the video, the preview of it, if you have not seen it, is also going to be in the show notes. So anybody that's curious, throw any comments, questions down at the bottom. But just wanted to see, what is like one takeaway you want people to kind of take away from the movie? Obviously we want them to go see it, but like, is there something that's kind of the big, like almost aha thing that you think that people may get from this, whether they're an Alabama football fan or not?
Well, I think what people are going to get from this is the trust that Coach Bryant players had in him during those times of the middle of desegregation when he integrated the team. And Wilbert Jackson, George Pugh, and those guys, Wilbert Jackson, let's use him for instance. He was the first African-American player to come. And he states how he was excited at first, but as the day got closer, he got a little nervous and got a little hesitant and a little concerned. But Coach Bryant was able to ease his concern by telling him, if you have any problems, any concerns, come talk to me. So you hear those stories about how those players trust and believe and felt like Coach Bryant had their back. That was one of the most touching points of the documentary to me. As George Pugh says, he had our back. He had our back. And nobody knew how things would turn out. Obviously, Wilbur Jackson didn't know that. But Wilbur Jackson could very well be one of the greatest backs, if not the greatest backs in Alabama history. He came in at a time where he was the first. He was pretty darn good running back. And he proved to everybody that African Americans blacks do have an opportunity and can compete on the big stage. And he opened the door for all of us. That was one of the defining moments of the film to me.
And I think when you think about some of these things, I think you kind of go where, when you get to Saban, right? Like, I'm not going to, obviously people see color, right? Like Saban was the coach during, the marches and during 2020 and during some instrumental times as well, right? There are a lot of things that happened during the George Floyd and everything that happened. But like, when players know that, yes, I'm going to discipline you on the football field, but like when it comes to real life, I have your back, right? Like I may discipline you, oh, you missed this snap or that, but like this is real talk, right? This is real people stuff. Like I'm going to be the human that you need me to be. Like now's the time to set aside our football and let's set aside our differences. If we had them on the football field, let's come together and be human beings. And I think that's what you're sounding like Coach Bryant did for his players. Like, hey, whatever you need, you just come talk to me. I got it.
You got it. And it was during some difficult times. And Saban did the same thing. You think about the tornado that came through, how all the players were affected, how the entire Tuscaloosa community was affected. Talk to George Floyd, you mentioned that. And Saban opened up and allowed the players to kind of, express themselves and to show love and to show care for them that, this is not the way it's going to be here, and to help them navigate through that time. And it was two different eras. Saban, you got to realize Jalen Hurts was the first African-American quarterback to start as a freshman at the University of Alabama. That had never happened before. Not saying that it couldn't have happened earlier, but Jalen was just that type of guy, and Saban had that trust and belief in him that he could do it. So, that's what makes the movie so special. I think it's two different eras. Saban done it on some different difficult situation, and so did Coach Bryant. And Gene Stallings did it in the movie. It is a much-watched show, and I would encourage everybody. You mentioned July the 31st. Yeah, it opens July 31st. And because of the demand, they've extended it, 3 extra days. So it'll be aired on August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And so at a local AMC theater near you, you can go out and catch the movie.
So want to wrap up here. Want to give you your time. I know we just talked about the movie, and as I said, if you want to buy tickets to that movie, I will have the link down in the bottom where you can buy tickets. It'll have the showings and everything, whatever theater near you want to get tickets for. But want to give you a bit of time to tell the people where they can find you, whatever you got going on. This time is yours.
Well, I appreciate that, Owens. I'm pretty simple. I'm laid back. I'm in my office right now here at Bryant Bank. And that's where most people walk in and find me at. I'm located in the Hoover office off of 150 Highway, and I've been here now for going on 15 years. So I'm actually a Bryant banker. So come by and see us. We have unbeatable service and legendary results, and we're a community bank and we're a state bank. We're only located in the state of Alabama, and we believe in taking care of the community and the citizens of Alabama. And we want to be your banker. So come by and see me. You can find me anywhere on the phone. Pick up the phone, and well, you know what? I'm not hard to reach. People got cell phones now. You ain't gotta do nothing but just lick it up and come by and see me, call me, or whatever, and we'll be happy to help you any kind of way.
That sounds great. I want to thank you so much for your time today, Bobby. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about the show, to talk to me about some of your time at Alabama and some of the things that, people need to know about this movie. As I mentioned, all the links for anybody that are curious, they are down in the bottom. Thank you so much for your time, and we will catch you in the next episode.
Thanks so
Peace.
much.